stream. Okay, so you know what? I'm just gonna rewrite it if I have a lot of time. So integration between a to a of f of x dx, this just means 0 because there is no area underneath. From a and a is the same number, so therefore it's not, there is nothing. Okay. So that's first property. So that's property of integral today. We are talking about property of integral. So this is the first property. So property of integral. But a has to be defined, of course. It cannot be like asymptote. So a has to be defined. A has to be defined in order to do this work. The second one is actually interesting. So the second one, between a to b of f of x dx, now is equal to integration of f of x dx. Now, here's the thing that makes some changes. I'm going to show you them color. B and A. So the boundary switch. When the boundary switch, make sure you put a negative sign in the front. This is very important property. It's so important that there's a lot of test question coming from here. Like I said, you can know nothing about algebra and you can pass AP exam with 3. If you have a comprehending, intuitive thinking skill, that thinking stuff like this, apply those rules, then you would have been fine because a lot of questions are intuitive. It doesn't require a lot of math skill. So you can get a 3. Get a 3 is a minimum actually for me. So between B to A. So I change the bound. So every time I change the boundary, if I change the boundary, right, between the upper bound and lower bound, so between upper and lower, I need to place a negative sign in the front. Does that make sense? Am I going too fast? Okay, so one more thing, very important. I fail a lot in my life. And I will tell you, I fail at teaching the subject a lot of the time, and I learn through my failure. And one of the biggest thing I take away is I should always tell students, it just prefer the lower bound is more negative than upper bound. So if I have a choice between -2 and 5 or 5 and -2, I will prefer -2 and 5. Because all I gotta look at is a graph above x-axis or below x-axis. I can tell is negative or positive. Yes, integral can be negative. Area is positive, I understand. So I'm gonna show you what happened here. If I have something like, say, I have this graph, and y equal to x, like this. Right, I have this y equal to x. And then I have, hey, integration from 3 to 0 of f of x dx. Well, that just means this area here. Oops, my bad. That just means this area here. Can you figure out that? Well, yeah. is 3 by 3. So 3 times 3 times half is 9/2. Does that make sense? Now what if you have from -3 to 0? Sorry, let me erase this. So let me color code this, make more sense. This is blue. So integration between 0 to 3 f of x dx is equal to 9/2. Now let me color code the other side. Well, what if I have -3 to 0? Well, it's this area right here we are interested about. But since they are below x-axis, that also means this is -9/2. Does that make sense? Because your orientation is right. See, this orientation is from -3 to 0 and 0 to -3. That orientation is set up correctly. If it's set up correctly, we just have to look at if it's above or below x-axis. Is it below axis must means negative. Ani, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just thinking because, okay, so if it was -3 to 0, so if it was 0 to -3.
Then it would have been positive.
Mm.
If I change this 0 to 3, -3, then it will be 9/2.
Right, but that's incorrect.
No. If I change the boundary, so if I change 0 to -3 like this, I just say I prefer to be lower number on the bottom, but it's going to be negative or -9/2. So it'll be 9/2. Does that make sense?
But isn't it still the same boundary no matter if it's, which order it's in? It's still the same boundary, isn't it?
Yeah, but order matter in this case.
Okay.
So the order usually prefer to be low to high. But if I switch this order, I must negative the other side due to the property.
So is this correct, saying that 9/2? Is that correct?
In this case, it would say 9/2, yes. But in this case, from -3 to 0 is -9/2. Am I confused, any of you guys?
If it's to -3 to like 1, would that still be negative or would that be positive?
-3 to 1? That's a good question. There's more negative than positive. So you need to break up the two pieces. You need to break up, sum up the negative, and then go. So that's a great question. What if you have -3? So I'm going to use black right here. So -3 to 1 of f of x dx. The problem is you got -3 to 0 and 0 to 1. So that lead to me, I'm going to explain next property first and then come back to answer this question. Is that okay? So the next question that we're going to talk about is this. Next property, so there are two properties. So this is first one, this is second one. I'm going to talk about the third one. The third one says A between C between B. So C is between A and B. Okay? So what if I have integration between A and B of f of x dx is equal to A to C of f of x dx plus C to B of f of x dx. Does this make sense? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's just essentially, I'm talking about there is a functions. And that function looks like A and B. Does that make sense? And then C is right in between. Guess what? If I say A and B, which is the whole thing, that must equal to this area plus this area. Does that make sense? And the whole thing is A to B, which is the black area plus the blue area. Jackie, does it make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like no.
it's a lot.
Is it a lot, really?
Yeah.
Look at this area, right? So this A to B, right? That means going from here to here, right? So A to C means this plus this, which is a to b.
Oh, wait. Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, don't tell me you understand.
No, yeah, it does make
But
sense.
before you pretending though.
No, it does. But it takes me a while to process things.
Okay. Now does everybody make sense? Whitney, does it make sense? Whitney?
Yeah, hold on. So it just gets confusing, the like upper and lower bounds because I see.
We are going from low to high right now. We prefer this. A is more negative, which is A in this case is roughly at 3, and B is like roughly at 10. So A, there is no boundary issue. It's the correct orientations. Okay? Alright. So now do you understand, Winnie?
Yeah.
Trevor, do you understand? Ani, Sean? Okay. So if you understand all that, let's go back to answer this question. What is negative 3 to 1? Well, that's equal to, I'm going to color code this, negative 3 to 0, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, I used the wrong color, my bad. I should use a red. So it'd be f of x between negative 3 to 0 dx plus what? Between 0 to 1, right? I should use a different color here. Plus 0 to 1 of f of x dx. So this is negative. It must be 3 by 3, so it's 9 over 2 negative. Does that make sense? And a positive, in this case, is going to be half. So the whole thing is a black is equal to negative 8 over 2, which is equal to negative 4. So to answer Xiang's question, actually Xiang just helped me come up with an example can actually comprehend. Does that make sense? Because I need to separate them. This part is negative, this part is positive. And if I separate them, then they will add together properly. Because we cannot mix them together. One is red, one is black. And if you add them together, you have to count red, and you have to add it to the black, or blue, sorry, to turn to black. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I have another question.
Sure.
Where did you get 9 over 2 again?
9 over 2, a good question. So this is 3 and 3. Area of triangle is 1/2 base times height. So 1/2 times 3 times 3.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, alright.
And the other one just half, because I can see this is half of the square.
Wait, can I take a picture?
Sure. It's not very pretty handwriting, but
Okay. I like how it's color coded.
oh, okay. Me too. I like color coding. I just started color coding last year, and the student likes it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep on
I
color
like
coding.
It makes it like organized.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you a question, and see if you can respond to this. Give me 2 numbers you like, and give me what number you like.
9 and 13.
9 and 13. Okay. 9, 13. Okay. That's equal to some even number. What's even number you like?
12.
Okay, we're gonna change to negative 12. Is that okay?
Alright.
Okay, so this means what? Between 9 to 13, this graph probably below x-axis. Does that make sense? Okay, so then let's deal with, okay, well, what if I have let's say it's 12 to 9 of f of x, and watch the boundary, it was 12 to 9. I told you I don't prefer that way, but it's there, it's fine. It's equal to, let's say negative 3, how about that? Let's say negative 3, is that okay? Okay, so my question is, I'm gonna ask you, what is between 13 to 12. And I need to have dx. What do you guys think? Okay, so I'm gonna show you really quick. So between 9 to 13 of f of x, right? So this, first of all, let's figure out between 9 to 13 f of x. Well, it's 2 times that, so this must be -6. Does that make sense? Okay, so shh, guys, quiet. So between from 9 to 12 of f of x plus from 12 to 13 of f of x dx. This makes sense because 2 parts added together. Now, we have this part. Let's change that to the right orientation between 9 to 12. That's equal to 3. So this part is equal to 3. Okay, and this one's -6. Am I going too fast? And that's equal to plus between 12 to 13 of f of x. You just have to reason it out. So that's going to be -9 is equal to from 12 to 13 of f of x dx. But the problem is the question is asking from 13 to 12. So if it's 13 to 12, that must be means 9. Because it was -9, so I have to switch the sign to +9.